Welcome to another episode of the Progress Report. I'm Sarah B. Nelson, Chief Design Officer for Kyndryl Vital, and I'm excited to have all of you here today because today we're going to dive into a really powerful topic, which is the world of purpose-driven entrepreneurship, innovation, and the dynamics between corporate and startup partnerships. And then we're going to talk about how the choices that we make have impact on the global community. So my first guest is Taig Chris. He is the CEO and founder of On-Off Telecom. Hi, Taig.
Hello, Sarah.
And we have Warwick Kramer, who's our Global Director of Innovation Strategy here at Kyndryl.
Hi, Sarah.
So both of these folks are really interesting. So Taig is really, I love the way he describes this. He's a challenger dreamer who loves to follow his passion and dreams in different fields. So from sports to entrepreneurship. One thing that Taig said to me was that he never sees walls or limits in his vision. He's always trying to find creative solutions to problems and is very mission driven. And then Warwick is a really seasoned entrepreneur with more than 20 years of transformation and work in the digital transformation space. What I find really interesting about you, Warwick, is that you've really remained dedicated to how you foster innovation and growth in startups, both like at your sort of corporate work and just in the work that you do every day. So one of the things is there's really no denying the advantages of partnerships between large corporations and startups. We can uncover cutting edge technologies and deliver superior experiences for people and drive transformative change. I'm curious about what our broader impact on the global community is going to be. So I really want to just go right into it. Warwick, why is it imperative for all businesses to be intentional about their purpose?
Sarah, it's a good question. I think the intention is really the core elements or the core foundation for building a very successful business. And without purpose, nothing else works. You talk to any entrepreneur, it's never about money. It's about getting up every day, building something that actually makes a difference in the world. So I think when it comes to purpose, that has to be the core of every single business. And the businesses that don't have it or don't focus on it enough actually lose steam and eventually disappear. When you look at big organizations as well, Sarah, over the years, if you just look at even just the stock exchanges, right? How many companies have come and gone off the stock exchanges over the years? How many actually remained? I think it's only like 5 or 8. It's not many. And it's organizations that just don't reinvent themselves. I think that's where it comes down to.
Okay, so speaking of reinvention, Taig, how do you integrate purpose into what you do?
I will say purpose is really deep in my blood in a way, because even for my education, the way my parents gave me an education is really to follow your dream. And I think purpose and dream is very connected. If you don't dream in a way, it's a dream of a better world, of some company, a product that will help people and so on. So, it's extremely important for me and for every company to have purpose and not just a word standing out on the company, a true vision that everyone on the company understand, follow, and dream for to go forward.
A lot of organizations, or even startups for that matter, start with a great purpose, but then change midway. And that's where the pressures come in from, I have to deliver quarterly results, I have to, deliver yearly returns for our investors, et cetera, or our venture capital firms or whoever else is invested in the organizations. Whereas when an organization has purpose and it's ingrained, it's long term. You'll have your ups and downs through the journey, but it's very important that you stay the course.
And any company in the world, they need to make money. But if you have a great vision and a great purpose there, you don't make money to just give millions to the investor. You make money to give the opportunity for the company to go bigger and better on their mission, to be able to reinvest and share what they've built to more people. They are not working for make the investor richer. They are working to make the company having a better impact.
So, Warwick, I'm curious. One thing that I've seen you talk about is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I'd love for you to explain it. In fact, I'm going to ask for you to explain how that applies to the startups that you're working with. And if you could also give a little context.
Sure, Sarah. Well, I've been at Kyndryl just before the spin-off. When I came in, we looked at innovation. And the whole purpose of what I was looking at was how do we actually make a difference? How do we actually work with smaller organizations, bring them into Kyndryl and make them successful and build a win-win model for everyone? I looked at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 sustainable goals that the UN had put out. And I looked and I thought, well, you know what? Why can't I make it mandatory for every company that we work with and we bring on as an innovation partner that subscribe to one or more of these goals? And so when I looked at that as a framework, I remember saying to a lot of the colleagues in Kyndryl when I was starting off, guys, we're going to build this into our strategy. We're going to build this into our selection criteria. And I think that mantra that we sort of inbuilt into the strategy and into everything that I do, Sarah, I think is really starting to shift the dial.
So, I mean, both of you are very purpose driven. You're both about innovation. I guess, Tai, what I'm curious about is your relationship. Do you work towards the United Nations sustainability goals, or is it coming from a like a less formal place? For people who are listening, that's a 17 set of interconnected global goals that the UN is trying to achieve by 2030.
Of course, you can be involved in every step of your company, and of course, we have a different involvement. But I will say I am still at the beginning, in a way, of my adventure. And the first thing, as every company, you first start in your room having an idea, then you start to create a small team, then start to build a product, find a market, and so on. Then the company get bigger. So now we are in a step where we have our market, we have our product, we are about 100 people in the company, we've raised money, we achieve profitability, we invent multiple patents in telecom, have changed multiple things. So this is a great achievement until here. But still, the company, it's still very small. We only make 20 million turnover until now. So I will say I will focus more in a give back to the society in a second step. First, I need a company to get much bigger and get more power, I will say.
It's like a process of discovery. So I mean, it's interesting about you can set an intention based on those sustainability goals, but you can also have this like progressive reveal. Like you start from your heart and then it starts to reveal how you might interact and what kind of impact you might have.
The way I work in my mind is to do things 100%. So I don't want to say, oh, yes, I am helping just for my personal ego. You understand what I mean? The way I work is to try to build as big as company as possible. And once I have that, then I will have the power to really try to help and really try to change things.
So one of the UN goals is around equality and irrespective that whole diversity elements, which I know Tag has always done. And even with the people that works in his organization, even though you haven't defined it as a UN SDG goal, it's there embedded into your culture of your organization.
Also in the mentality in the company, I try to, even if there are some people that have higher rank, I like that everybody are completely equal, and anyone in the company can come open the door of the CEO and say, "Well, I think you do a mistake there," and challenge me. And at the end, the one who will be right is the one that will, with argument, show that his idea is better. At the end, is only the result. Is not there is no ego of this person or this person have to be right.
It starts in your culture. The quality starts in your culture. And then can you talk a little bit about how that then translates or is part of your product? You're making a product that actually enables people to communicate. You're making phone numbers available for people. That could say if you're in India, you can have like an equal conversation with somebody in New York where you feel like you're in the same location.
Yeah, it was like that, but I will say the vision was deeper than that. What I've realized is that in the telecom world, there were something that makes completely no sense for the end user. You see, we were living in a world where everything is in the cloud. Your email are in the cloud, the file with Dropbox, your music with Spotify, your film with Netflix, everything is in the cloud, and your mobile number is blocked on the plastic SIM card inside your phone. Okay, now they invent like the eSIM, so things are changing a little bit. But 10 years ago, when I started on off, eSIM didn't exist. So first of all, I realized that all the big telecom company in the world, they were reducing innovation. They were restraining the user experience for people for no reason. Probably to get more profit at the end, because if you take away your SIM card, you don't have your number anymore. So I thought I will invent a new way to use mobile number. So I thought, why you cannot just buy the number and use like an email address, basically, and connect that phone number to any connectivity. So I thought the same technique with the mobile number. So just creating an app that generating a mobile number. But the long-term vision was not only to give numbers. I was seeing two words separately. The word of mobile application, like WhatsApp, that were giving an extremely user-friendly user experience, actually, but that had some lack about technology. If you didn't have internet, you could not do it. And on the other side, you had the telecom world that had a very strong technology and very far from user experience. And my long-term vision was to take those two words and connect it together.
So, Warwick, I'm curious because you spend a lot of time within large organizations. And so I'm curious about how that bridge happens between the innovation user experience of someone like Taig's organization and the corporate enterprise.
I think the ability to be able to work with new, smaller companies coming into the fold is actually really hard in a corporate context. It was really interesting, Sarah, because I read this morning, actually, while I was on the train, I found this quote and I thought, wow, this is going to be really fitting for our podcast today. And the quote says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I listened to that and I thought, wow, this is just nailed it, right? Because as a corporate organization, look how difficult it is to unlearn and relearn things, to reinvent yourself. You're put into a particular category and that's a job you have to do and that's it. So if you're in the accounts department, your operations, et cetera, how much opportunity do you generally have to be able to work across different functional areas? There's not many opportunities there. And that's not a bad thing because in a big organization, you need that stability. And then here comes a startup, which all of a sudden is dynamic, it's fast, they can move things really quickly. If something's not working, guess what? They just put in reverse and start all over again. All of a sudden now you've got these two worlds that are colliding and working at very different speeds. So the challenge that you have for both parties, not for one or the other, is that you've got startups that typically, regardless of sizes, whether it's small or medium or large or scale-ups as we call them, but yet the expectations that they have to be able to move very quickly is very different. And they look at big corporates and go, but guys, this makes so much sense. Why can't you change it? Change your process to make this work. So there's difficulty always to overcome. And I think with that quote, it's ability to unlearn and relearn consistently. And that's what's really important. And I think both parties, whether it's a big corporate or a startup just starting out, I think if you have that mindset, you can actually do things a lot faster and more efficiently and effectively within the organization. And that's hard to do. That's very, very hard to do.
I want to add as well that to be flexible for innovation, that's the best security actually big corporation can have for the future because technology moves too fast. I mean, you can see when they launched ChatGPT, how in few months every company start to use it. When you look back, we all forget that before Facebook there were MySpace, and before Google there were Yahoo, and so on. So what I want to say is that everything come for the user experience. I believe if you bring a product that is help the people better and make the life easier. And so big corporation, they have to understand that is never anymore with technology in the pocket like it was for hundreds and hundred years. Now their security is the possibility for them to be flexible and to be in front of the trend of technology. They need always to have one step ahead in which direction it goes about innovation.
If we look as individuals, just think about our daily lives. We turn on the radio, we turn on the TV, we get onto the internet, we look at all our different sort of news feeds, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, whatever you use. The geopolitics, the world is changing consistently. In our personal lives, all we have to do is just click onto one of those feeds and we see what's happening around us every single day. All right. We all went through COVID. We all learned about the importance of supply chain or supply chain resiliency. We've all learned about sovereign now capability of us starting to insource manufacturing and that drain brain, so to speak, bringing it back in-house, etc. So we're constantly bombarded with change. Change is all around us. And now all of a sudden we come to work and it can't stand still. We have to keep moving. And so that's where some of the challenges come, looking at it from a corporate perspective, that constant evolution of all the things that are happening around us in our personal lives, bringing that in there and then adding value to an organization and driving it forward.
I've been reflecting a lot on, I mean, obviously like everyone else, but a lot on, what is now accessible and made visible to people. It's not that AI is a new thing, it's that they made an interface that people could actually see it in action in a way that worked, like not like our friend Siri so much, but like an actual, like you can see it and apply it. But I've been reflecting on like how fast that's moving with the, what is it, the Chat GPT 4 plus, which I'm on the wait list for. But there's always been this idea that we talk about is that technology outpaces the ability of humans to change. We're still, in some ways, like these very primal people. It feels like this opening of accessible AI has accelerated that. The level of change that I've seen in technology has never been at this pace. I'm really curious about what we need to do as humans to be able to keep up with that.
The change that's happening so quickly around us is that it comes back to the fundamental elements of the purpose of why we're actually doing what we're doing. So it's lovely to have ChatGPT 4, etc. But what value is it adding to humanity? And now there's two sides of this coin too, by the way. You've got the good and you've got the bad. Okay. And hopefully it will do more good than bad. However, we have to acknowledge that it does exist. So as technologists, our job every single day is to say, well, how do we actually take a product or an AI or whatever the new technology that's coming up, the next new thing coming up, and how do we actually do good with it? How do we protect humanity, the people that are vulnerable? So, whether it's kids, for example, I mean, I see some horrible stuff being used where, you've got nowadays voice recordings, right, where they can record my voice for, 5 seconds and then, give a call to one of my kids and say, hey, Dad, I'm stuck somewhere. Can you come and pick me up or can you send me some money, etc. So that's where technology is actually used really badly. And that's where we have to, as technologists, try to find a way to circumvent that.
I agree. But there's one thing that I want to add. My biggest fear is not so much about the technology itself. My biggest fear is more the people that are running it. If you look back years ago, when they created television, at the beginning it was more for, in a way, education, to help people in an education way. When you see now television, they are selling us product with advertisement all the time, and they are putting some television show just for us to view more and sell more advertisement. And when you see, for example, even on YouTube or any social network, the algorithm is not showing you the best interesting element for you. It's showing you what you are willing to click most. So if, for example, you like Alien, YouTube are going to show you video of Alien all the time because the algorithm is built to sell you product, not to make you a better human.
It's funny because with my kids, I say to them all the time, when you do a Google search or any search on a news channel, take the position that whatever you're reading is actually fake. And it's your job to disprove it. And it's really sad, really, really sad that I actually have to give them that sort of lesson in life, that we can't actually trust anymore. Trust is actually gone. And I think to Taig's point is that you've got these big organizations that are starting to dominate. But I'm hoping that the new generation will say, hey, that's enough. Push the politicians to put in the right policies, the right procedures to protect people, to protect humanity. And I'm hoping with that and with the new generation as well coming through, and the organizations for that matter, that trust is really, really important. The ones that actually can build trust are the ones that are going to succeed, in my opinion.
Warwick, I'm curious what advice you would share with large corporations who want to make meaningful partnerships with these purpose driven startups. And then the other side, looking at the other side of the coin, is Taig, what advice would you give to startups as they're honing their purpose?
Very, very simple. For a corporation, so to be honest, 100% honest in their reason why they do it. Doesn't have to be to pretend to get more money at the end for the investor and so on, blah, 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 because people see it, people feel it. No, it have to be a true desire, a true vision from all the leader from the company, and have to be shared with everyone, and have to be proven in the act with the profit the company make, how it can give back and help. So this is extremely important. And for the people side, everything is possible. No matter from which origin or education or country you come from, you can become one of the future big leaders that may change the world. Have the opportunity to see things big. There are a lot of people, they don't have the courage to see so big, but it is possible. So see things big and go for it.
Sarah, so to answer your question, look, this is going to be a very, very odd answer. So I'm glad you're sitting down. But where I look at it is it starts with kindness. And I know it's really odd for me to say that. But you as a person, if you can actually do something that's actually quite nice for others and show kindness, it's how you shift the dial. The second part to that is thinking through your legacy. What do you actually want to leave behind? For me personally, if I can get up and come to work and just touch one person's life and make a difference, then you know what? I'm the richest person in the world. And so for me, if we can build that into corporate innovation, we can build that into startups, guess what? I think the world will look very, very differently. And I think, the whole innovative narrative and the innovation narrative will change very quickly.
What I really loved about our conversation today was provoking the thoughts about what is purpose, even if you're in an organization already. Where can you influence purpose? Because a lot of times the purpose, it gets lost, but it's there. So how can you elevate it? So whether you're in a startup or whether you're in the enterprise, and sort of noticing when the conversation is about efficiency and about productivity, to what purpose? And then I think that's really the anchor that all of us can have when I do these activities, when I'm planning. To what purpose? What is really my strategy at the purpose level? That's what I would challenge all of you to think about, is what is your purpose? What gets you up in the morning, and how can you bring that influence into the rest of your organization? I don't know about the folks listening, but I'm incredibly inspired. And I'm also just going to say personally, this is the message I needed to hear today. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you. It was so cool to share. Definitely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah Tague. It was a real honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's the end of the episode today. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode, so come join us. Make sure to subscribe, share this with your colleagues, and we'll talk with you next time.